But this is what I want you to know. When it comes to being saved and when it comes to your salvation, it doesn't have to be a guessing game. You don't have to guess that you're going to heaven. You don't have to be a 6. You don't have to be a 7. Because God wants you to be a 10. He wants you to know that you know that you know that you're going to heaven. But sometimes in life, things get in the way and things happen to us and they make us doubt our own salvation. Let me tell you a story. It's a little embarrassing for me. But a few weeks ago, I was going to take my driver's license test, my driving test. Does anybody in here drive? Those sponsors? Some of the young people, that's not concerning at all. I went to go take my driving test, and I was practicing parallel parking. If you don't know what parallel parking is, it's a form of parking. And I'm 2 days before my test, and I'm backing up, and I think I'm doing great. And you know what? I am absolutely for sure that I'm going to pass this test. I keep practicing and practicing and practicing, and then I do it, and I look out my window, and I saw something I wish I had never seen. On the back of the car, our van that I was parking next to, I saw a black line. And I get out, and it's sprinkling a bit, and I run my finger across the line, and there's blue dust on it, on a red van. On that scratch, there's blue dust, and the car I was driving was blue. And so I scratched the van, and so I'm walking over to the blue car, and I go to the other side of the blue car, and I look for a scratch, and there's a scratch on the blue car too, at the exact same height as the red one. I scratched both my parents' cars, and so I was for sure, and now I'm not for sure anymore. Oh, I practiced a little more, and I was tired, and I went to bed, and now came the day. It was the day for my test, and I wake up, it's really early in the morning, we drive out to the test area, and me and my dad, we switch, I start driving. I'm going to get behind the wheel. I noticed something I hadn't noticed before. This feels weird. I was like, why does this feel weird? And then, I remembered, I've been living in Texas for 2 months. I haven't driven in 2 months. I'm out of practice. It's bothering me, and now I'm way less for sure. And I drive there, and before we get here, we decide to stop for gas. And as we pull into the gas station, my dad says, I'm going to go use the bathroom. You fill up the car. It's like, okay. And so I get out, I stick it in, I'm doing gas. I was going to stop the thing at $15, right? And I pulled it out, and when I pulled it out, I stopped. I did. But when I pulled it out, I might have accidentally squeezed it or something, or that pump was broken. Because when I pulled it out, it gave one last ginormous squirt of gasoline. And it deflected off the car and onto my pants. And so now, I haven't driven in 2 months. I scratched 2 cars. It looks like I peed and I smell awful. And it's 3 minutes before my test. And I have no time to go get a new pair of pants. And so we get in the car. And I'm not feeling so good. I'm not sure I'm going to pass this test. And we get there and we walk up to the desk, and the lady, she's sitting there. She's having me sign papers, and she starts to sniff. She goes, I'm like, and then she turns to her friend who's at another desk and goes, do you smell something? And it's like, my candle. And she sticks her candle towards her. And I'm like, no! Because I had gas on me, and fire gas didn't go on there. Something was on a person. And the person was like, no, it's not your candle. Something really stinks in here. And then she gets up and she goes, okay, Nathan, let's go out to your car. I'm going to be your driving instructor. And so we walk out, and I apologize to her. I say, yeah, I spilled gas on me. I think. She goes, oh, you're the person who stayed in there. And so we get in the car. She lets me roll down the windows because I stink so bad. And I'm doing my test. And we're driving down the street, and she goes, turn right. And I'm just like, and so when you tell me to turn right, sometimes I'll turn left. And so I turned my left blinker on, and I turned left. And I didn't go the way she told me to go. And she had to go all the way around the block again, and over and over. And the things just kept happening during my test. And it came to the end. And I parked right back at the testing center. And she turns to me in the car and she says, Nathan, you passed. That was my reaction. I was like so excited because over 2 days my certainty went down. I went from absolutely for sure I was going to pass this test, but things kept happening around me and to me, and it made me less and less and less sure. You see, in life, when you're living life, things will happen to you. Maybe it's something that happens with your parents. Maybe it's something that happens with a brother or sister or with a friend, and makes you less and less and less sure. Let's say there was a guy named Bob. Bob went to church one Sunday, and Bob was at church. He's a Christian, but then he leaves church. He goes to the Bronx. He steals an ice cream machine. He goes to the park. He kicks a kid. He takes the kid's lollipop. He does wrong thing. And then he goes back to church and he goes, "Oh no, I did all those wrong things. I must not be saved anymore." You see, it's not what you do, and it's not what happens to you that gives you what makes you saved. It's nothing you do because it's everything Jesus did. Jesus died on that cross. He lived a perfect life so that you could be with God in the end. Nothing you can say and nothing you can do can separate you from God if you've given your life to Jesus. There was one time I was at camp and I was about 12 years old. And I shared my testimony in front of a group, and like I shared a minute ago. And then I got off the stage and I really started to think about when I got saved and how I got saved. You see, I was 5 when I got saved, so I was thinking that was a long time ago. I hardly remember when I got saved. Another thing was, in my family, we try to remember the days that we got saved, and we call them salvation birthdays. But when I got saved, my brother led me to the Lord. He was 8, I was 5, and so we didn't tell anybody I was saved for weeks. And so we had no idea when I got saved. I was little, I hardly remember it. And so I'm sitting there, I'm 10 or 12 years old, and I'm thinking, did I mean it? Am I really saved? And so I went back to where we were staying, and I fell on the bed, and I just started crying and crying. Because I went from a 10 to a 0. I wasn't sure anymore. I was crying and crying and crying. My parents, they came to the room. They said, "Nathan, why are you crying?" And I told them. I got saved when I was little. I hardly remember. We don't even know the day. And so they pulled out their phone, and it was really odd to me. They pulled out their phone, and they started playing a recording, and they left the room. And on that recording was 5-year-old me explaining how and why I was saved. You see, what I didn't know is that when my parents found out, they pulled out their phone and they started recording a conversation of them and me while they were questioning me on how I knew for sure I was going to heaven, what happened when I got saved, and how I knew for sure, absolutely, that I know that I was going to heaven. And after listening to 5-year-old me tell me, older me, how I knew for sure I was going to heaven, I went from a 0 to a 10. I knew that I knew. Nothing could affect that, because 5-year-old me explained to me how I knew I was going to heaven. I want you back and close your eyes.